my gosh, you know, there's so many different ways to do long division. Hi, I'm Sarah. I have been a math and science teacher for 20 years, and I'm here to make math engaging and fun. If you are interested in tutoring sessions, or if you have questions or comments or anything like that, click the link and do the stuff. So long division, the way that I learned it way back when, we're just gonna start simple. I like to start simple because then we're ready when it gets more complicated. So 534 divided by 6. This number, you know, you hear about like the dividend, divisor, all that. I honestly never know which one is which. I can't keep that straight, the dividend or the divisor. I still think I like go back to like my 3rd grade or 4th grade mind and I think, okay, which one goes inside the house, which one goes outside the house? That's just how my brain works. So 534 divided by 6, this one goes inside the house, this one stays out. So it's 6 into 534. Now, if you're working with more kind of like complex numbers, you would have like a decimal there, right? Just to keep track of place value. You can put the decimal in there or you don't have to, it's fine. But what we're gonna look at, so here is like the traditional way, right? So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do the traditional way first. This is the way that I learned. This is the way probably a lot of you learned. I'm gonna erase the decimal because I know this one doesn't have a remainder. So I'm gonna go through this like the traditional way, how I learned it, and then I'm gonna show you a different way that one of my students showed me many years ago, and I love it for what it teaches you about the concept of what division is. Okay, so we've got 6 going into 534. So again, the way that I learned this was you go number by number, right? So 6 goes into 5, no. If it doesn't go into 5, then you add in another digit. So now I'm looking at 6 into 53. Now this is a time when a times table can really come in handy, okay? If you're working with younger students, just having a times table right there so they can see, oh, 53 isn't divisible by 6. Yeah, sure, memorizing multiplication tables is great, but it's not the be all and end all because we really want them to focus on that. So 6 times 9 is 54. That's one too many. So I'm gonna go 6 times 8. I'm gonna put my 8 up here. 8 times 6 is 48. I'm going to subtract that 48, and that's gonna be 5. Then I bring down the 4, doot doot. And I look, okay, 6 times what gives me 54? Well, I just said 6 times 9 is 54. So minus 54, and I get 0, which means I have no remainder. So 534 divided by 6 is 89. Now, some of you may be thinking like, oh, this is too elementary. If you look at dividing polynomials, okay, those of you who are going into like algebra, Algebra 2, trigonometry, maybe into pre-calc a little bit, if you're talking about dividing polynomials, you have to understand this concept. You have to understand how to do this, because if you're doing long division of polynomials before you're doing synthetic division of polynomials, you need to be able to do this where you're subtracting, you're multiplying, all of that kind of stuff. You've got to be able to do this so you can long divide polynomials. So now let's look at the other way, which is really cool. Okay, so we're still gonna do the 534 divided by 6. I'm gonna switch back to my thing one. Okay, so we're still gonna do 534 divided by 6, but the way I'm gonna set this up is just a little teensy bit different. Still got the house. Whoa, that line went wild. Okay, there we go. All right, so multiplication is just repeated addition, right? So if you have 6 times 5, that's 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, right? You can do that, right? Multiplication is just repeated addition. Division is repeated subtraction. What you can do is looking at 6 going into 534. Now, with this single digit division, you may just kind of go back to the more traditional way. This is usually more useful when you have kind of like a bigger number, but again, we're gonna start when it's easy, so we're ready when it gets more complicated. So what I'm going to do is this is where I'm going to be keeping track of everything that I'm multiplying this 6 by. And I'm just gonna keep subtracting it, right? So I look at this and I say, okay, what can I multiply that 6 by that I know for sure is less than 534? Well, I could do 10, right? That's 60. I could do, so let's do that. I know 60 is less than 534. Great. So 6 times 10 is 60. I'm going to subtract 60 from that. I'm going to, okay, 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 6, I'm going to borrow. Whoops, I'm going to put the 13. I'm going to borrow. So now I've got 7. So now I've got 474. Okay, so now if I keep going with these little numbers, it's going to take me forever. I will get there. It still works, right? The pattern's not going to change. It's just going to take me a while. So I'm going to ratchet up these things, right? So I know that 6 times 8 is 48. So 6 times 80 would be 48 and a 0. So it's going to be 480. So that's too high. But what about 70, right? If I multiply 6 by 70, 6 times 7 is 42. And then the 0 makes it 420. I subtract 420 and I'm left with 54. Now I say, 6 times 9 is 54. So minus 54, so I have 0. So I have no remainder. Now look at this. What is 10 plus 7 plus 9? It's 89. So 534 divided by 6 is 89. So we've got repeated subtraction, and then I've got just traditional long division. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's pretty awesome. Like, that's so cool to me. Like, that it feels like magic, but it's not magic, it's just math, right? But it totally feels like magic. Like, it feels like this shouldn't work, but it does. I love it. I love it. That's MathedUp.